Hey,
Morning.
welcome. This is ACDC, Araceli and Colette Dynamic Change, and we're here to talk about all things real estate and finances. My name is Araceli, and I'm a transition wealth advisor. I love working with single professional women to help them rearrange their finances and also get out of debt quicker and retire faster. But that's not the only people that I help. I also help people that are going in any kind of transition. And one of the biggest transitions of all is going into retirement. And today, this is the subject. So, home ownership and retirement. But I'm here with my partner, Colette. Colette, can you introduce yourself?
And we want to have a coffee with you too. So grab a cup
Yeah,
of coffee.
a tea for
And,
me.
yes, or tea, and have a little chit chat with us because we love to give information and share lots of things for you. And my name is Colette, and I am a residential real estate broker in the GTA. I like working with anybody West End, really anywhere from Etobicoke all the way to Hamilton. I have been helping people lately, even in Cambridge, as far as Cambridge and Guelph, because the GTA is a little bit expensive right now. So if you have any questions about how I can help you, that's what we're here for. Reach out to me. That's great. Same thing with Araceli if you need any information about wealth and finances. But today we really wanted to talk to about something because it was actually, we always get questions in our line of work and we'd like to answer them. So I promised this person that we would do the show today about this question so she can pass it on to her friends and share with her friends, because, you know, we hang out with people that are about the same age, and, you know, she's not quite ready to retire, but it's coming. And that's, you know, she had a lot of questions about that. And I said, oh, this is a great topic. We should really talk about this, especially with Araceli, because it has to do with your finances. And, you know, with COVID has just turned a lot of people's finances upside down, but we know it's going to end and we have to get back on track, and we have to really think about what do we want to do to retire. So that's why Araceli and I like to do the show together, because we are both sides of the coin. So I'm going to put it back to Araceli. She's going to talk about finances before you even think about retirement. What do we need to do?
Well, I actually do have another channel as well, and I talk about a little bit about retirement. And I think retirement is something that people have. In some cases, I figure that they're a little bit scared of it because it has the connotation that you're old, that you're not going to be able to do anything, and it's far, far from that. So I want you to reiterate that retirement is not an age factor. It's actually a
It's not a
financial
death
factor.
sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not waiting to die. No,
That's right. You don't have to be 65 to retire. So the factor is that how much your passive income assets equal the lifestyle that you want to have. And that is basically the formula, because if you have accumulated assets, or let's say that you had an inheritance, and maybe those assets, they're equivalent to what your current lifestyle is, you can retire at any age. So the first thing that if you're considered to retire, right, I'm just going to put it like that, is to do an evaluation of what you have, what assets you have. Do something that is what income sources are you going to have? Or do you have anything already accessible? Some people have pensions or trusts coming into them that they're already here, and they're not even 60, they're not even sometimes 50. So evaluate, first of all, what assets you have and what is paying you now and what is it going to pay you later if it is something like a government pensions. So that's the first thing. But one thing that we want to discuss today more than anything is one of the biggest assets that people have is their home, right? So what do you do with it? Right. Colette, so please tell us a little bit more.
I love you. I've been waiting. But the other thing too that I really think that people have to come and talk to you about is to understand what, you know, you have to have this kind of vision board of what you think your retirement is going to look like. So we had a little bit of a chit chat. Araceli and I also have a networking group that we spoke briefly about. you know, when you say retire, what does that mean to you, and what is that going to look like to you? And a lot of people said the word travel, if I'm not mistaken, want to travel. So in my own situation, so let's just take me as an example. So I own I don't own it. The bank owns part of my house. I own part of it as well.
Yeah, true.
Let's just say you're right. The biggest asset I have right now is my home. So what I answered to the woman who asked the question of me too, and I said, look, like the one question I can answer, and I always want to pose the answer this way, is that you have options. So even though we're talking about myself right now, so as an example, you have to look at your own lifestyle and see what kind of things you want to do during your retirement and when that's going to be. So, you know, looking at your finances and looking at your assets to say, okay, how can I do this? So how do you slice this chunk of apple, this chunk of your life? So let's just say, I'll use myself an example just so it's nice and easy, because I think a lot of people are in the same situation. I own my house. I have kids that are still in school. I think I may retire in 15 years, let's just say in 10, 15 years. But I don't want to stop working. So I do want to keep my business going because I love it so much. And I don't see myself being ill, or of course, that's always, you know, that's another thing too, we could talk about later. But I think I can still have my facilities about me. My health is good, knock on wood. And then, you know, my retirement should look like this. So once I answer that question is, I have my house. I could rent my basement. So that's my first idea in my head. I could rent my basement out to generate a little income. I can leave my house whenever and travel, and then have my home and not have too much to worry about as far as, you know, paying my bills and things like that. And then take my clients as they come, or I could have an assistant that can help me out with my business, or a team member. And then that way I can have the flexibility of not taking on so many clients, but I can still make a living and continue working. That's one idea. So far, are you with me?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add something to it, Colette. You had it exactly perfectly. I think that the idea of retiring is you have to place yourself there. What are you doing?
Right.
Are you getting a golf membership? How
Right.
many times are you traveling? People say traveling, but that is very broad. Are you going twice a year?
Right. Or am I going to live in Florida for 6 months out of the year? You're right. Like that's so you really have to get that figured out. And if you have a spouse too, that your plan matches each other.
Exactly.
It's very important to figure that out first, because, you know, there could be a lot of variety there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So another option would be for me to sell my house. So, you know, if I know I have at least $1 million in equity in my house and I sell it, I have this very nice nut to do whatever I want with it, but I still need to live somewhere. So that's another option. Do I need this big house? Not really. It depends on my children too, and to say, where are they going to be? So it might not be an answer that I can answer right now, but if I know things are going well, in 10 years, they should both be out of the house. They should both have their own families at that time. They should have their jobs. They should be settled somewhere else. I can always buy a smaller property as well and just have a room for them or something, not to make them that comfortable. You know, they get moving on their lives too. They have to start their lives. So that's another option. The other option is I still keep my house. And instead of me renting my basement, I move in the basement because I don't need that big space, and I get more money by renting the rest of my house out. Some people don't want to be a landlord. I get that. If you have the idea of getting some income coming in, there's always a property manager available that can take on those repairs, the headaches of a tenant, getting it rented, all that stuff. So you really don't physically have to interact with that tenant if you don't want to. Some people feel really weird about living in the same building as, you know, the same structure as a stranger. So that's something that you have to ask yourself that question as well.
It also, Colette, it also depends on finances. And if you really are keen on keeping the house because you have maybe children that is still coming in, And if the rent, you can rent the basement, it's okay. But remember, it all depends on your health as well, because maybe the house is too big, or
Right.
maybe it has too many stairs that you don't want to do.
Or it's,
So all of, you
yeah,
have to factor in so many things, right?
right.
So
Yeah,
your health, your family dynamic,
right.
what are the sources of retirement?
Yeah, but it's
Because
also the home too. If the house needs so much work, so I can
exactly,
understand that. If you've lived in your home for 20 years and it needs upgrades and you really don't have that money, you don't want to spend the money on the upgrades. But then if you do spend the money to sell the house to get more money, there's another option there too. There's also retirement homes. I hate to call them retirement homes. I want to say, there are adult buildings, and there are places that not so much in the GTA but outside. I'm really seeing more people talking to me about that sort of lifestyle too, where they want to be in a community of older people that they don't necessarily need to be in a that bad nursing home sort of situation, where they still have their autonomy, they still have their own space, but it's a community of like-minded people where they can interact. Like, look at COVID. I mean, we need this social interaction, and
absolutely.
especially if they're all about the same age group, and that kind of community lifestyle. I think the age group is about 55 plus, so it's really not that old. These are not old 90-year-old people, frail people living in communities like this, right?
Yeah.
So really thinking about retirement at 55, like, it blows my mind. I can't imagine that, that kind of lifestyle at that point. But it's not to say that other people don't see the value in that.
Well,
So,
I'm gonna tell you something there, Colette.
mhm,
I do want to retire as soon as possible,
yeah,
tomorrow. And what that means, would I stop working? No, absolutely not.
right.
Working and retirement, it's totally different things. Retirement means you have enough income coming from passive sources
Yeah,
that it will sustain your current lifestyle. What I mean by that is that if it costs you $4,000 to maintain, all of these things that don't stop, like property taxes, insurance, even though you don't have a mortgage, let's assume that you don't have a
right.
mortgage, right?
Utilities, your utilities,
Everything that you need, your food, your car, gas, everything that doesn't stop.
right.
If that is, let's say, for an amount, $4,000, and now you have a pension, you have an annuity coming in, you have government sources, maybe you have a rental that produces those $4,000. If
Yeah.
you are 50, even if you're 45, you can officially retire.
Well, and I keep
So,
hearing semi-retired too, and that's a
yeah,
whole other picture too. But if it's something that people say, okay, I'm semi-retired, I'm not going to run around like a crazy person, especially if you're an entrepreneur
yeah.
or you're working 9 to 5. You reduce your hours, you take, maybe sabbatical or leave of absence that
Hmm.
are longer periods of time, so you can actually do fun stuff. Like, that's retirement to me, is like, oh my gosh, I get to have this moment to do the things
Yeah,
I love. I get to do my hobbies more. I get to travel more. I get to spend time with the people I love more. So this is the thing that, to me, that's what retirement means. And I
yeah,
think that's a very big question to ask.
absolutely. And
What is you?
I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people think, well, it is kind of in the financial planning side. When
Yes,
we do an estimation, a projection, we normally take about 60 to 70% of the amount of money that you normally would do when you're working, when you're retired. Most people think that they're going to spend less money. It's
right,
not always true.
right. Oh no, because your
Sometimes it's
life.
actually you are going to need more money because now you're doing an expensive hobby that, like golf, for example, costs a lot of money. And
Right,
you also want to have 2 or 3 trips. You have more time available. So now you want to do the things that you couldn't do when you were working because of the time. But
right.
now those activities are actually costing more money. So you also have to think about that. So assuming that your retirement is going to cost less, it's not always the truth. So
No,
just think about sitting down and put yourself where you are going to be and evaluate what that is the amount of money that it's going to cost to do it.
Right.
Actually a lot of fun when I do it with my clients because they're very, very surprised about what it's going to cost them to actually retire. So,
Oh yeah. Well, I think even just to get your finances figured out, if you're not retired, if you're, you're going day to day and you want to do something like a trip or you want to save for another property or something like that, where you really have to sit down with somebody like Araceli and look at the numbers and have the plan done. Because if that's a goal of yours to say, okay, in 5 years I'd like to retire, or I'd like to get an income property, whatever it is, like that's something that you really should have someone to guide you with. Because I look at things and go, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure how I'm going to make this money, or how many more clients do I need to get in order for me to get to that goal. That's what Araceli does. She's the expert at that. So to speak to her about something like that before you even think about selling or what to do, she can help you answer those questions. And I think it's fantastic to have
and
that.
do it as soon as possible.
Yes.
I actually have a friend of mine that he was taking a pension. He was phased out of a job, and that was a year ago. And he calls me exactly the date and says, "Today's the last day that I'm receiving funds. I don't know what to do." Okay, what happened to the last 12 months? Where were you? Right? How
Wow.
come you didn't call me before? So this is what people do, and they leave it for the last minute.
But it's fear, talking from
Well,
myself too.
yes and no. And in all honesty, I'm thinking, you know what? Time goes by so quickly. You are
It
busy
does.
with your life, and sometimes just time goes by. So I'm thinking is if you have the ability or are thinking about doing it, just do it now. Because
Yeah.
otherwise there's months and months that are gonna pass. And
Yeah.
that it could be something that, you can change your life.
But even
Believe me.
right, and even the time of the year now. So we're in December. Like if you want to start the new year fresh and clean and new and nice and have a good plan, then talk to Araceli about that. And if you're ready to sell or think about selling or buying an income property, then talk to me
Yeah.
because we're
Or
just
even having like if that is something that you want to do, even though you're not prepared, let's prepare a financial plan to get the down payment, maybe to check about your credit and improve it so you can get a better rate. And then Colette can tell you what are the options if you want to buy an investment property, how you can do it, right? So we have a lot of financial professionals as well that can help us not only just the finance part, but maybe the mortgage side of it as well. So don't be afraid. Don't think that it's too far away. Nothing is never too far away. So the
never
more you
possible.
plan, it's better.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that's exciting about life, even during COVID, where we might have a little hiccup in our lives and what we need to, concentrate on and focus on, but it's going to end. I don't know when, but
Yeah,
it will. And then we have to figure out, what have I done for this past year? How have I actually kept things going and saving and things like that? There's always options. And it's really something that people always need somewhere to live. And it's something
absolutely.
just having a plan and realizing, okay, this is what I need to do. Talk to us. Like that's what we're here for.
Yeah, that absolutely. So another thing that I wanted to mention about homeownership and retirement. If you are already 65 or plus, and let's say that you don't have children or your children are gone or they're moved far away. I don't know what the circumstances are. But if you're having trouble, one of the things that I hear a lot is that even though your mortgage is paid, because of the properties have increased so much in value, the property taxes are starting to become really absurd. Also, if you own a condo and the condo fee has gone up, and I see that a lot of seniors are getting trouble with paying taxes and condo fees. They become really something that they cannot afford any longer. So if you're in that situation, come and talk to me and see what options you have, because you need to evaluate at that point. Maybe a reverse mortgage is required. Maybe you need to sell and downsize to something that is smaller. Maybe you want to go to a retirement community. Um, I don't know, there's so many options,
Yeah,
right?
but just to have our viewers know that there are lots of options.
Mhm.
We will help you if it's hard for you to determine what exactly what options you have or what option you want to choose.
Mhm.
We can help you make that decision. Like, we're not just pretty faces. We actually.
Of course.
Okay, so for that, we're running out of time. So thank you
Yeah.
everybody for joining us.
Well, if you do have any questions at all, if you are thinking that in the next couple of years, right, you're thinking
Think ahead.
retirement, can I keep my house? Do I sell? Can I convert it? Any questions that you have, just let us know and see if we can give you a different perspective. So we're here for you. So anyway, thank you,
Options.
Colette, for the question.
Thanks, Araceli.
Okay, and
Awesome.
we will
Hope
see you.
everybody learned something
Yeah,
today.
we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.